Hey everybody, it's Paul Heumiller here at Dream Guitars with Mr. Isaac Jang of Isaac Jang Guitars. Isaac, how are you, brother?
Hey, Paul, good to see you, and thank you for having me on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. You and I go back a long ways, and it's always fun when we get a chance to hang out and nerd out about guitars. Like
Yes.
this is for those of you at home. This is the latest and greatest of 2025 that Isaac just sent for a custom build, a beautiful Brazilian and spruce. Just sort of
Yeah.
give you a little eye candy to start things off.
Thank you. And can you believe it? It's been 10 years since we started working together.
Yeah, I was thinking just before, like when exactly did we? But I think it's exactly a decade, so it's a very timely time for us to chat
Yeah,
again.
I know. Wow. Time flies.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me. I'm going to jump right in with that note because I think one of the things I thought would be cool for us to do today is
Mhm,
I of course had the pleasure of advising a lot of builders along the way during their careers, whether they've been building
mhm,
for 30 years or they sometimes want my opinion as a dealer and someone who's closer to
mhm,
the client base. Um, and I think it's really neat that you're now, we met 10 years ago, but you had already been doing some things, of course, to hone your
mhm,
craft. And I remember you telling me that you were advised by Kathy Wingert to not just study luthiery, but get into repair work so you could really learn about the instrument. And I think it'd be really cool to talk about like those beginnings all the way through to
mhm,
where you are today, and maybe
mhm,
just some insights that you think um, you've done right. Some of the
mhm,
maybe the big hurdles that taught you a lot, and just whatever you
mhm,
want to share for maybe either
mhm,
that would be interesting to a luthier or even guitar lovers out there who just don't know what goes on in 10 years of
mhm.
trying to be a guitar maker. So,
Yeah, yeah, it's really important for me, what Kathy has taught me over the years. Because when I was studying with her, it wasn't only the technical aspect of building the guitars, but it was the actual sort of mindset and the approach to building guitars and the smallest elements that really affects the sound of an instrument or the overall uh, quality, as in not just the sound, but the playability and also the visual elements that sort of ties into the overall instrument. And she also strongly emphasized on the repairs because I can build a amazing sounding sound box and the neck, but if the playability, the nut and saddle, the fretwork isn't done right, then the actual instrument cannot shine to what it has to offer in its full potential.
yeah, yeah,
So uh, so that's been my biggest challenge over the years is while working at Kathy's, I worked in the repairs uh, to work with a lot of the players and get their feedbacks, and that's been like the biggest, the elements in my guitars that I find critical.
yeah. Let me just jump in there too, because I can tell you, those of you at home who are listening along, I can't tell you how many guitars I've gotten brand new from builders, and no, I won't name any names, but immediately needed fretwork, or issues because I have big standards too, right? Of course,
Mhm,
and I think often that's an element that just is sort of it's the last minute, or maybe the builder's behind on a build and they rush those last things. And I know you never do, but it makes such a huge difference because like I'm sitting here and playing this brand new guitar, and I sent Isaac a note yesterday and just said how much I love the guitar and how beautifully it plays. And um, it's a big deal. And I can definitely say that every oh, we got some thunder chiming in here. Love it. because I'm making a very important point. I haven't, but no, every little detail, we'll get into more of what's unique to an Isaac Jang guitar. But I think you're right. It's what makes a boutique instrument versus a factory instrument too. It's this level of care, knowing that the end player is going to be able to make better music. So right on.
Wow, thank you for noticing that. And even now, I still get a lot of the players coming through my shop. A lot of friends, they're sort of playing in the mainstream music industry, and I always ask for the feedback. And I think for me, that's the constant evolvement of my instruments comes from the player feedback, someone like you, as well as a lot of people who are, even though they're wouldn't necessarily be my clientele,
Sure.
it's always critical for me to understand what players are looking for and where they come from. And honestly, most of the players who come visit my shop uh, to demo my instruments for me, none of them even look at the wood. They just say, "Oh, guitar." They just grab onto it, they start playing it. So I know what really matters. So
Yeah.
for for me to really understand the player perspective of my instruments while maintaining where I come from as a guitar maker, working with the wood and craftsmanship is all important, but at the end of the day, it really has to resonate with the player. It has to feel right to the player. So that's one of the biggest things that Kathy had taught me, and I've sort of been able to sort of utilize that mentality and that approach to build my guitars and continue
There
to
you go.
improve them.
Awesome. I think another thing that you've clearly done very well from that from the feedback I get from everybody who buys your guitars or just sees them or encounters them here in the shop, right? Someone comes in to try 10 or 20 guitars, and one of them is one of yours, and of course you have uniqueness about it, right? Something I always encourage builders to try to do, and it's hard. You're building a guitar; it's a traditional instrument, so how do you stand out? And I think you've done a few things that are very recognizable, right? Everybody can tell an Isaac Jang guitar like that. The Uchida Bendaway. Talk a little bit about that. How you discovered that, started to use it, and I happen to
Mhm.
know that you got to meet Uchida, and that's a really cool story. If you want to share something about that as well.
Yeah, well, first I gotta say I'm forever grateful to Mr. Uchida, Mitsuhiro Uchida, and uh, he's one of the kindest people, and he's one of the most sort of genius thinker. Every single guitar that he's built is one off, and but what really kind of started my exploration was that when as I was apprenticing with Kathy, and something that we talked about a lot is that I don't want to build. She mentioned that, Isaac, you don't want to build Wingert Light. You want to be off on as your own builder with your name on it. And of course, I have a lot of DNA on my instruments, but that was one thing that really stuck with me, and it took me a long time to s- come up with something that I thought would stand out, but I didn't want to make it flashy, make it too fancy. So if you look at my even earlier work, you wouldn't necessarily notice any appointments to be standing out too much. But I just wanted to keep the elements as simple so that it focuses on the sound and playability while giving that accent. So as I was doing a lot of research to come up with the design, and I saw Mr. Uchida's work, and it's just like it just hit me. So I reached out to him. I was able to call him in Japan. He speaks really good English because he actually spent many years in Ireland working as a manager, a production manager for Loudon Guitars, I think in the 80s or 90s. And I asked him if I could borrow his design, and he responded with big blessings. And he actually sent me even more pictures of the things that he was working on. And he said, if you ever need anything, he's happy to share that. And I just was so um, touched by that. And I also told him that I would make sure to give all credits to him. So I'm calling it the Uchida style bandaway. His original designing is even more advanced. He does sort of like an extra band, and everything is sort of heelless and everything smooths in. And I, didn't go that far. I actually stuck with what I felt comfortable using the dovetail neck joint. And because I'm also coming from this sort of a traditional background as a Martin repair person, so I'm kind of everything has to be serviceable. And I decided that I would sort of implement some of the design elements while still keeping my own color and style.
Mhm.
So that's kind of the where I got the design. And the whole idea is maintaining as much of the body volume for the air, the resonance and the instrument, and still give that extra access to the upper frets.
Yep.
And it's a lot of work to make everything flush and look good and make center everything while building the guitar, but the result is definitely rewarding for me. So
Awesome.
um, yeah.
Very cool. And I've been wanting to ask you this question. It could be a rabbit hole, so just a brief answer, if you would.
Okay.
But after you met him in Japan,
Hmm.
we were all in Japan together, and
Yeah.
and then you guys went on to
Hmm.
you and Michi Matsuda, and I think some
Hmm.
others.
Uh-huh.
You said to me that that meeting impacted you in some way, and you
Hmm.
weren't quite sure how it would change your guitars, but you felt like there would be some
Yes.
impact. Is there a short answer to that, or should that be a whole nother video? But
No, I can. It's been some time now. It's been over almost two years now, so I can try to really share what impacted me. So it was 2 years ago we visited him with Michi and Michael Bashkin. We also did a podcast together, and I saw how he was building guitars. He's only building 3 to 4 instruments a year. Um, and every work that he does, he draws a full blueprint of an instrument. And over his whole career, at the time, he was only at about 184, number 184, which is a very small number, but you can also see why. And for him, everything was about his lifestyle. Everything has to felt organic, and nothing was rushed. Everything was kind of kept at his Zen level, and that was the best results that he got. So, for me, it impacted me in a way that as in a Western sort of a mentality of doing the work, it's all about efficiency and production and getting it done right and building as many as guitars you can build without compromising sort of that world. Whereas sort of he is more in the Eastern mentality, I felt like, where everything that he does has to sort of evolve most organic way possible. And if it doesn't feel right, then he wouldn't even get to his bench. He would just walk away. And I think that's pretty similar in this kind of the world of guitar making. But me, Isaac, coming from living in America, coming sort of fused with the Western culture and then Eastern culture coming from Korea, and also seeing how it's been done, it sort of made me to balance myself a little bit better and not always pursuing myself to do production for the sake of the business, calling it, because y- yeah, because at the end of the day, I'm doing this because I want to be happy, and I get the best results when I am doing all the work that I'm doing in my happiest state. So I'm always trying to push myself, or not necessarily push myself, but trying to be conscious of that uh, status, like mental status and emotional status. So
yeah.
um, everything
Yeah.
has to feel organic. Yeah,
Oh, that's lovely. That's really good wisdom, and it jives for me for my yoga world. I've spent a lot of years.
yeah.
I'm learning how to be the typical American, right? We are. It is very ingrained in us to go and success oriented, and but sometimes the best success is when you just slow down and do things in their
Mhm.
correct time. So that's really beautiful to hear, and I love it. And it
And
certainly.
also to note, oh,
Go ahead.
no, also to note that I'm not pursuing to build 3 to 4 guitars a year, but
Right.
rather I have to still be more conscious of the things that I do. I'm not really just pushing just for the production numbers, but rather to, yeah, keep things more flow naturally.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Um, and then, so right now, like I know you've gotten quite popular and quite busy, which I'm happy to, have watched you grow in that way, and it's lovely. I believe at the moment we're here now talking here in 2025, and you're booked up what 5 years or so.
Yes, currently 5 years if I am caught up to speed.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah, I'm still, working on some of the orders from 3 years, 4 years ago, and then still trying to maintain some of the, yeah, on
Sure.
schedule. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but that's a wonderful sign. It just means people are responding to what you're
Mhm,
building, your sound. Most
mhm,
important, like I, you know, no one is willing to pay the sort of price that these fine guitars require if the sound isn't moving and beautiful
mhm,
and inspiring for music. So you've definitely got people love your guitars because of the sound. I think very much first,
mhm,
and then of course the gorgeous finish and feel and design elements. Um, and price wise, I know you're also the guitar like this is a brand new Brazilian rosewood, really top shelf everything. And this guitar, I believe, is in like the 43K range or so today. Is that correct?
That's correct. And yeah, one of the realization that I had over the years is when I first began, I sort of underestimated how much time it took to build a guitar, and I've overcommitted myself to say I can probably do about 10 guitars a year, and that turned out to be not true. And so I realized, and I cannot really speed up the process without losing the focus or compromising the things that I want to do. So I
Yeah,
decided that I will just stick to my pace. And as I do more and more, and if that results in faster results or the speed, that's acceptable. But I didn't want to try to, push harder for faster speed for the sake of getting things done, in a more production manner. And that's kind of sort of
yeah,
ties into my visit to Mr. Chida.
yeah,
So that resulted in my the way for me to keep it a sustainable business, because this is the only means of living on my end. I
sure,
had to sort of, restructure what goes in and what needs to be priced at accordingly
sure.
to make my guitars, and
Yeah,
that's kind of where we're at.
no, absolutely. And I think people, our clients certainly, they realize that boutique anything in the world
Mhm,
is more time consuming, takes a lot more skill and talent. Not everybody, even people who can build guitars, can't
mhm,
necessarily do this. And I
mhm.
mean, I promise you, I can attest to that.
Ah,
So there's that art and that ability is definitely worth something. And I'm the first one to say that high end guitars, in my opinion, are still quite reasonable when you compare them to pianos and cellos and things that sell for big six figures.
mhm,
And yet guitars are still, well below what those instruments sell for. So yeah, but it's awesome. And the other thing is, like I'm obviously in the business of, we sell to everyone, as you know, we sell to
mhm,
people who are playing on stage and people who are playing at home and people who
mhm,
are also collectors who
mhm.
enjoy supporting artisans,
Yeah.
and want to buy things that will appreciate in value. And the fact that your prices are going up
Mhm,
is a good thing for everyone that owns one of your guitars, and it's a very tangible benefit that people sometimes don't
mhm.
always think about. But you don't want to own something that's going down in value. You want to own something that's going up in value if at all possible. And Isaac Jang guitars are certainly doing that. So that's a beautiful thing for everybody who owns one.
Oh, thank you. And I'm in the business of delivering happiness. and
Yeah,
one way or the other, right? And whether it is to please yourself with the instrument, or whether if it's an investment value, a great instrument at this point. And from what I've sort of witnessed, many of my used guitars that come up on the market uh, are priced at much higher than when they were first initially sold. And you can probably attest to that. You've seen that happening
sure.
over the years.
But I told someone today, I said, would you sell your house for what you paid for it 10 years ago? No, you would not. Everything worth anything goes up in value, and that's just the way it is, right? Time makes things more valuable. Um, Talking about you in the business of happiness, like I personally, always love just being around you, even if it's long distance like this. You're just a joyous person, and I think the other thing I think you've done really well in your career, and that a lot of people in any business could learn from, is how sociable you are, how likable you are, and how that comes across in your marketing too. Like I think you do a really good job. Which is unbelievable that you find the time to do the marketing, being how you are just building guitars. But I think, for people who are in the building trade or any business, you can learn a lot by looking at Isaac's marketing, even if it's just a 10-second video on Instagram. It always comes off positive and fun and happy. So I think your brand of happiness comes through, and kudos for that.
Oh, well, thank you. And I think it just naturally comes down to being able to enjoy the work. And I think part of me also being socializing, especially like going to shows, is for me, it's more than selling instruments.
Yeah, yeah.
It's actually my way to get out of my cave because, I work for 4, 5 months straight. And then I'm just like, I need to get out of here and be able to connect with builders and friends and players and clients. So maybe that's probably what you are able to pick up, is that I'm actually liberated for that time being.
No, well, it's wonderful. It's refreshing, and I think it's a big part. And I remember Martin Simpson telling me years ago, like, these guitars are all special. These single maker guitars, because there's part of that person in them. They're really,
Mm,
and I definitely sense that. Most things in life, you can pick up a factory anything, and it'll
mm,
function and do the job,
mhm.
but it's not what you're going to want to hold, especially close to you and make music. So, I think
Ah,
the Isaac Jang guitars have a little bit of Isaac in every one. So that's a good
ah,
thing.
thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I think that's probably a really good place for us to jump off. I mean, anything else that you wanted to say to everybody out there in guitar land?
Well, I just wanted to thank everyone for watching this, and also for your continued love and support and interest of my work, and also loving dream guitars.
Yeah, man. Well, I look
Okay.
forward to being in the room with you soon. So until then, thanks so much for chatting with us.
Thank you so much.
Peace, Isaac. Love you, brother.
See you.
Ciao.
Love you too. Bye.